Hello, City of Concord, and welcome to Believe It. Happy holiday season, however you celebrate, Merry Christmas, whatever it is that you're doing at this time of the year, please enjoy. If you want to stay home alone, by all means, enjoy the ride. That is what Believe It is all about. My name is Dawn Drew. I am your host of Believe It and the producer of this show with the help of Concord Community Television and their producer support program. And I am here today to help you to very comfortably get out of your box and think about something that maybe you didn't know before you watched this show. So, as always, fasten your seatbelts, enjoy the ride, and I hope that you learned something that you didn't know before the show. I am here with Lisa Schermerhorn. Lisa Schermerhorn is from the area, and Lisa is studying shamanism. And if anyone is familiar or unfamiliar with shamanism, you're going to learn a lot more about Lisa and about her venture with her studies with shamanism. Welcome to the show, Lisa.
Thank you so much, and thank you for having me.
Yes, I'm so glad that you're here. You are from the area.
We moved to Concord about 5 years ago.
Okay. And you practice here in Concord.
Yes.
You have a practice?
Yes, I have an office on Main Street.
Okay.
I'm also a certified hypnotist.
Okay.
And a Reiki master,
Yes.
energy medicine practitioner,
Yeah.
so lots of stuff up my sleeve.
You have a lot of wonderful
Yeah.
things going on.
Yes.
And the shamanism is something that really struck me. People are rather familiar with hypnotism, and they're familiar with energy healing, maybe to a point, but it depends, of course, on the energy healer and their particular practice. But you and I connected a while back, and you were telling me that you had been studying with some shamans. You had gone to Peru, and all of these wonderful, amazing, expansive things have been happening with you in the world of shaman. Can you tell the people that are watching what it is that brought you to even think about this, from being a hypnotist to moving to Concord from another part of the United States, New Jersey or someplace? Or
Originally
Massachusetts?
New Jersey, but I lived in Duxbury, Massachusetts.
Massachusetts, right, okay.
For about 10 years,
And,
yes.
and we love to have you in this area, I will tell you that.
I love living there.
So what brought you to shamanism?
Well, what I like to say is I didn't choose it, it chose me.
Uh-huh.
And when I say it chose me over and over again and dragged me kicking and screaming because I had no idea what it was. I thought it was really something that the indigenous people did, native people like Native Americans or native of Peru, that it wasn't something that some, white girl from New Jersey was going to be able to do.
Exactly. So it really threw you for a loop to even think, is this even something I should or could do?
Well, this whole journey in itself has been an amazing ride. The whole the healing journey itself has been really chosen me. I started out at a girlfriend's house listening 15 years ago. It was Halloween, and this woman had a speaker who spoke on angel messengers. And I said, wow, angel messenger, what is that about? What do you mean? There's like people on the other side you can talk to? But it intrigued me. I spoke to her name is Karen Paulino, she's in Massachusetts, she's an amazing woman, and I asked if she taught, and she did, and I studied with her. And she was the beginning of this incredible, transformative work that I began. Because I wanted to be everything she was. So then I studied everything she did. So that's why I became a hypnotist. That's why I became a Reiki master. And then after I finished studying all the things that she did, I was like, uh-oh, I can't be her.
There's only one Karen Polano.
Exactly. So I was like, now what? But it was interesting because I was studying with some of her teachers. And I was studying hypnosis. And the woman who trained me also did something called spiritual dowsing, and she communicated with spirit on the other side. So I said to Pat, I'm really curious. I'd love to have a session with you on some of this dowsing work you do. And we sat across from each other in the room. The lighting was kind of low, and she looked at me. She said, "Oh, your spirit guide's here." And I said, "What?" She said, your spirit guides here? And she said, very tall, handsome Native American man, about 6'2", high cheekbones. She went on to describe him very specifically. And she said, there's a book he wants you to read. And I was, okay. She started to look around the room. She couldn't find it. And she said, I'll be right back. I'm going to go in the other room and see if I can find the book. But she never told me the name of the book. And as I sat there waiting, literally across the room in a bookshelf, a book illuminated. I got up and I walked across the room, pulled this book off the shelf, and at that very moment she turned around and walked in and said, that's the book.
Whoa.
Yeah, it was Sandra Ingerman, who's a shaman, called Soul Retrieval.
Okay.
So I took it home and I read it and I went, that's nice. Who does that? And I went back to her and I gave her back the book and I said, thank you, that's really nice. But, and basically the premise is what shaman believe, part of the belief system is that we all have souls. And when trauma and difficult things happen in our lives, pieces of our souls leave. And so what a traditional shaman will do is a shaman will lay next to you, they'll drum, and then they journey, it's called a journey, and they journey to what's called the lower world. Now, their belief system is different than the traditional Judeo-Christian. There's no heaven and hell. It's an upper world where spiritual beings are, the middle world where we are, and the lower world where the power animals, animal totems, and sometimes where your pieces of your soul go. So a shaman will journey, retrieve the parts of you, and bring them back. So let's say something happened to you at 1 year old and then another trauma at 3 and maybe 15. They'll go back and retrieve those parts. And so imagine it's like a puzzle with pieces missing. They're putting the pieces back in the puzzle to make you whole. And that's the part of their healing belief. As I read this book, I said, that's really fascinating, but who could ever do that? That's not something I could do. So I gave it back to her, but it never left me. And 6 months later, I was doing some other work with someone completely different I was training with. And a woman walked up to me and said, I don't know why, I just went to a workshop last weekend and a woman was looking for an apprentice. She's a shaman, and I thought to give this to you.
Wow.
So she handed me the brochure, and I was, at that point, I started learning to look for signs. And so to me, this was a sign.
Right.
I needed to just pursue it. I didn't know anything about it, but I felt drawn to it. So I went to this woman's house. Her name was another Karen, Karen DiTrapani. Went to her home, and she basically kind of interviewed me. We interviewed each other, and she said, I want to work with you. I worked with her for 3 years. We did a lot of healing work, a lot of house clearing work, a lot of self-healing. It was some of the most powerful work I ever did. And then I felt that we had kind of, our work together was finished. And then I went into another direction where I was drawn to work with energy medicine and do more hypnosis work. And then lo and behold, last year my girlfriend Chrissy contacted me and she said, how'd you like to go to Machu Picchu?
Which is in Peru.
In Peru.
Yeah.
I said, that would be really amazing. So she emailed me a trip that she was looking at, a link, but it was something that required 5 days of hiking. And I said, honey, no. I'm not hiking for 5 days in the jungle. It's not happening. And it's amazing the power of Facebook. I just posted, does anyone know about a trip this spring to Peru and Machu Picchu? Ironically, this woman, Ann Souza, who's a shaman, was running a trip this fall. Now, I hadn't met Ann yet, but she was doing a workshop at my house in Vermont for a reunion for my energy medicine group that we had been corresponding via email.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
more signs.
More signs. And so I had friends who had worked with her and recommended her highly, so I said, I'm going to do this. And my trip to Peru, I was there 2.5 weeks. It was one of the most life-changing experiences of my life. We worked with probably about 4 or 5 shaman. They took us to the sacred sites in the Sacred Valley. And I learned a lot about the ancient ways of the people there, and they are of the earth. Shamanism is not a religion. It's really a way of being, a way of living. They honor the earth. Everything is about honoring earth. Aini is one of their terms, and it's about reciprocity. It's about you give to the earth and then the earth gives to you. Or you give to someone else and it's out of unconditional love, but everything is returned. And honoring other people. It's a beautiful way of life. And they would do ceremony in these sacred places, and you just feel these incredible energy and healing everywhere we went. We also met with, in the northern part of Peru, the twin shaman. And they're 2 women. They're not really twins, but they're inseparable now. And they're very, very powerful shaman. And they were just in the United States. And I did a workshop with them. And this was a very, very powerful training. What they believe is that we have 3 different kinds of karma. You have the karma that's created in this life. You have the karma that's created from past life. If you believe in reincarnation, they believe the soul comes in, initially, and then it just continues to come back lifetime after lifetime for whatever your soul's purpose is.
I just want you to help people understand what is karma.
Okay. Karma is when you do something, let's say I do something to hurt you, that creates an energetic reaction that whatever comes around goes around type of thing, that it will come back to get me. If it doesn't happen in this lifetime, it will happen in another lifetime. So if you find that there's a constant rivalry or there's something that happens with another person that goes back and forth, usually that's karmic. And you might have some more information, more thoughts on what karma is as well.
Yeah, in my view, and one thing I did want to help people to understand too is that there's no specific mix for a shaman.
Right.
The way the shamans work that I've seen, it's a raw person who has such an incredible understanding that they're able to help people to break through so many difficult barriers by just their natural way of being, because they are so connected, they're so real. And karma to me is for example, someone who may have a difficult time with the opposite sex, with a male or with a female, consistently throughout their life. Well, that may be some kind of a karmic something that they're not understanding about that opposite sex,
Right.
or the same sex.
Right.
That just it's a karma that's running a wheel that they haven't got yet,
Right.
and they either get it this time or they'll.
So it's kind of a contract that their soul has made to learn certain
To learn
things.
something, right?
So you have that in a current lifetime. And, they always say if you don't get it right in this lifetime, you have to come back and do it again.
But you never do exactly the same thing. People need to
No.
understand that. You might have a situation, say, for example, you have some kind of a miscommunication with animals.
Right.
Then in another lifetime, you may come back as an animal, or you may come
Right.
back. You probably come back as a person. Usually, we stay with our particular type.
Right.
But you'd have some kind of a real strong connection with that misconnection you didn't get in this lifetime.
No, absolutely. So I do a lot of past life regression, and I find it really fascinating. Sometimes people will say, oh, that's why I'm having this difficulty in this lifetime, because of something that happened in a previous lifetime. So you have your current lifetime karma that you create. You have past lifetime karma that's created. And this was fascinating that I learned from them, that there's karma that's created by an ancestor. Let's say that an ancestor is particularly dark or does something really kind of evil, and so they kind of, if you want to use the term, sell their soul type of thing. Well, they not only have the karma of doing something that's dark, but that karma is now attached to their descendants 7 generations forward. So their belief is that any kind of behavior, such as mental illness, or something like a disease that's really in the family generationally, that's can be karmic, and it can be something that's passed down generationally. And what this process does is cut it. So when it's done on me, if I have one, they call it a compacto. So if I have a compacto in my line, my ancestral line, then I cut it for me, and that ends it for my children.
This is like the horse whisperer, isn't it? He cut that. You know, you know the story?
I remember
the horse
the
whisperer.
story. Yes.
He is his whole being. They always were brought up to break horses and train horses, et cetera, and they always did it in a very aggressive, rough manner. And he watched the horses and watched the horses and watched the horses, and all of a sudden he's like, we're not doing this anymore. We are not whipping these horses. We are not going to cattle probe these horses with electrical probes. We're going to communicate with these horses. And he broke that that chain. Wow.
That's a really good analogy to use. One of the things they had said, because like my husband's family, there's a tremendous amount of cancer on that side of the family. My father-in-law, his father had cancer. My father-in-law had prostate cancer. He lost 3 brothers to cancer. And then my brother-in-law had cancer. So when you have something like that that's so prevalent in the family, generally that is a possibility that's a compacto.
And how would a shaman, how would somebody, I know, but how would you explain to people that you would discover that?
A lot of the work with in shamanism is ritual based. So their ritual is to have someone make a list on 2 pieces of paper, their mother's side and their father's side, and all the characteristics of the characteristics that they believe that are being passed down generationally. And so all the list of things, and it's negative traits that people don't want to carry forward. So they put that list together for their mother's side, and the list is together for their father's side. Then they lay on the floor, and you put the mother's list at the head, and then a little red votive goes on the list. And then the father's list goes at the feet, and there's a little green votive that goes there. And I take 2 white tapered candles. One, I start at the midsection, and I start from the mother's side, and that's from the waist down. Oh, before they do that, I have special water from these 2 shaman. They channel San Pedro, St. Peter, and this water has been blessed. And I have this special holy water that they gave me, and so my client would drink this water, and then they lay down, and I take the taper and I literally swipe the entire body 3 times. From the waist down, they're turning around on their sides, they're on their stomach, and keep turning them, and I swipe each part of their body 3 times and tap the paper with each swipe. It's to release it from your body.
To release the energy, sure.
And then, and the candles are lit, and then I take the other taper and I go from the stomach up, and tapping the paper at the head to release from the father's side. Then you take the 2 tapers and you melt them separately in a pan, and then you take a bowl of water that's filled with the holy water, And when the candle is melted completely, you pour it into the water, and it forms a blob. According to the twin shaman, the blob now contains all of the compacto. They actually can read those blobs. And we were 13 of us training, and they went around to each blob, the mothers and the fathers, and literally read. It was like tarot cards or having your a reading done. And it was fascinating because the woman next to me had lost her mother. She was in a plane crash when she was 18 months old. She knew. She said, I see your mother passed away when you were young. She saw there were women who had cancer. She said, here's the cancer. She said, oh, I see heartache. I see grief. She could read it. And what she told all of us is, it really doesn't matter if you can read it or not, because it's now gone. And then you take the paper, the votives, and that blob, and you have 3 days to bury it. And I've done this on several people so far, and I had one person in particular who literally, because she's very sensitive, she could feel it leaving her.
Really?
She could feel it, and she had profound change in her life. Profound. She was the exception. Usually it's much more subtle. People don't usually feel like that, but she had major profound changes in her life afterwards.
That's wonderful. That's what people are looking for. They're looking for some kind of clearing, some kind of support, some kind of help me to understand this, whatever it is that I don't understand that I'm carrying.
Because my understanding with shamanism is you're going back to heal things that are energetic. They're energetic.
We're really running out of time.
Wow.
But I want to, before we,
Yes.
I know we just came and got
Wow.
some time clip here. This has been an incredible show, but you brought some cards, so I want
Oh,
you
I'll
to
tell you the story
quickly
real
tell the
quickly.
story about the cards, yes.
When I first started working with Karen Paulino, she was the angel messenger. When I was studying with her, this is how I started on my journey. She had us read a book by Doreen Virtue, Ascended Masters and Angels and Ascended Masters. So as we were going through this book, we had to read 7 different chapters about 7 different Ascended Masters, pick one to work with, and then meditate and pray and ask for signs. So I was doing my work, and I got to the J's, and I asked for to work with Jesus. So I had this brand new deck of cards, and they're pretty beautifully illustrated. And I opened them up and looked through them.
This was brand new when you opened
Brand
the pack.
new.
Yeah, okay.
Opened up the box. And then I asked for a sign that Jesus was with me. And as I opened up the box, opened up the cards, this card appeared. Doesn't look anything like it. And the card says God on it. And I've kept this with me. And that was a proof to me that I was on my journey.
Signs.
I learned to look for signs. And once you're aware that there are those on the other side,
ask for signs.
you ask for signs, it'll change your life.
It will, yes.
Just like this whole journey.
Yep. Oh, I hate that we're running out of time.
I can't believe that went fast.
I know. This is
know.
amazing. Well, Lisa Schermerhorn, thank you so much for coming on the show. And I want to just tell the people that are watching, please, if you have any questions, give me a call. My number is on your screen somewhere. I can connect you with Lisa. She's here in Concord. And if you want to watch this show again, you can go on yourconcordtv.org, yourconcordtv.org. There's a little TV screen about midway down on the website. And just click on Believe It. You'll come up with a bunch of episodes, and Lisa and I will be on there shortly after this series is processed, etc. By the way, I just wanted this is my Christmas crown. Every year I wear this crown. And every year, last year, if anybody was here, you'll realize that I had my little Christmas crown. I was so excited to come on the show. I was like, I got my Christmas crown on. I add something to this to just make it a little bit more festive. And the amazing thing is that everybody that sees it smiles. I don't care what's going on in their life. You can tell them they're walking in, they got stuff in their mind, they're hungry, they're, whatever. When I see them, they smile. When they look up and say, like, Is she wearing something weird on her head? Yes, well,
Yes.
welcome to the world of weird. Anyway, you can unfasten your seatbelts. I hope you did get to learn something today that got you out of your box. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Dawn Drew, and this is Believe It. Please join us again. Thank you, Lisa.
Thank you for having me.